Ironclads go through the superhighways of the American Civil War. And the superhighways are, of course, the rivers. They're the best way to supply forces very economically without paying heavy points, unlike railroads or wagon trains. However, there are forts along the rivers which have to be bypassed by the ships, and that is a little hard to do. For example, this group of Union ironclads wanted to go south of Cairo. They would have to bypass these two forts. And to bypass a fort, you use one point to move it up to here, then you use another point, movement point that is, to try to bypass the fort. To do so, you take 1d8 for each ironclad unit. You can have more than one, you could have like 3. For each one of those ships, you will use a movement point to roll this die. And if it gets a score, 5, which is greater than the value of that port, then it can bypass it. And then to move again, you would spend another point to move it. Now here you would have to bypass this port, but if, for example, if you were here and you wanted to bypass this fort again and you bypassed it by rolling successfully, then you could go anywhere you want with a single movement point. The same rule goes for cities, except cities traditionally have a smaller point value to attack.
Almost every city has only one number, fighting value here, 3. It's a little number here. In the case of Vicksburg, you have 12, 15, 7. You always go with the lower number. So you still have to roll an 8 in order to get past this. If you want to try it, you would have to use like several units, because assuming that most of them would fail. Very difficult, but not impossible. The case of Washington, D.C., for example, you couldn't bypass it at all with an 8. So one single unit can't roll an 8 and bypass. First of all, it would have to bypass these fortifications here, but then to bypass this to go further up, it would have to roll an 8, which you would use the 20 here. That's quite impossible, right? So what you do is you put, say, 3 units of ironclads together, and then you roll a d24. And if it gets, the outcome is superior to 20, then they could all cross.